Welcome, fellow students, to the Miracle Mind podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and today the course is giving us the perfect answer and guidance to all of the chaos that we are seeing in the world right now. I know you don't need me to recap everything that is currently happening, but I think it is fair to say that the energy of attack is very prevalent and very present. And I think the best way to introduce this topic is for me to use the words of the course itself. So I'm going to jump ahead and read one of the main passages that we will be getting into today. The world but demonstrates an ancient truth. You will believe that others do to you exactly what you think you did to them. But once deluded into blaming them, you will not see the cause of what they do, because you want the guilt to rest on them. The section that we are looking at this week is called The Hero of the Dream. And this is something that I've noticed many times over the course of my life so far, that it seems as though we all think that we are the hero of the story. And we could get into the quantum reasons for this, right? Quite literally, you are experiencing this dimensional reality through the perspective of you. And so it makes sense. You would consider yourself to be the protagonist, you would consider yourself to be the hero. And interestingly, as I notice this, there's then a part of me that says, so should I consider myself to be the villain? And I also don't think that that is an appropriate way for us to view ourselves in the context of this world. I don't think any of us are hero or villain. I think almost every story that has ever been told that has been reduced to a simple narrative of us versus them, good guy and bad guy, hero and villain, is actually entirely much more complex. And again, and we'll really get into this when we get into the section that this quote is from, but as the Course says, once you delude yourself, very specific language, into blaming somebody else, it blinds you to empathy. And empathy is the vehicle to understand why you are in the situation that you are in. I think this is so wildly relevant right now. And as I mentioned in our last episode, I don't want this podcast to become overly political, but I would be missing a giant opportunity if I didn't at least somewhat cover this. Obviously, I am filming this after the United States and Israel have been attacking Iran, sparking a war. And the verdict is still out on how that war will unfold and how many decades will be involved in it this time. But needless to say, it has echoes back to the early 2000s. And the lies that we, unfortunately, as a society largely believed. We are repeating a cycle. And again, I'll spare you the history lesson. Although I do want to say, if you are interested in understanding what is happening geopolitically, I do highly recommend studying it because, especially from the perspective of the United States, we have been meddling in other countries so aggressively for so long. It's a wonder. It's a wonder we haven't picked more fights, in all honesty. And so, when situations like our current conflict arise, it's very tempting for us to not take in the broader context of why what is happening is happening. And it's already started. And I do, unfortunately, this is not psychic. This is just, a little dash of autism and a little dash of common sense. I do think this narrative will continue to fester and grow, that there is a bad guy and we are the good ones. And the good ones, oh, they must take down the bad ones. This is what the Course is wanting us to examine this week. That belief, that false belief. Just how easily we slip into it when it goes unexamined. And if you're someone that already sees through the lies and the manipulation that is currently happening, That's wonderful. I would encourage you to stick around though, because the tendency to fall into perceiving yourself or a group you identify with as the hero of the story is something that is very, very tempting to all of us, all of our ego minds. And so it's worth talking about that, examining it, paying attention to it, and utilizing the teachings from A Course in Miracles to correct that tendency. So again, we are dealing with chapter 27, The Healing of the Dream, and this is section 8, The Hero of the Dream. As always, I recommend that as I read the paragraphs, you allow yourself to enter a meditative-like state, allow the words to wash over you, and then we will go ahead and go through this bit by bit. I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs to you at a time, and then we will stop and analyze. The body is the central figure in the dreaming of the world. There is no dreaming without it, nor does it exist without the dream in which it acts as if it were a person to be seen and be believed. It takes the central place in every dream, which tells the story of how it was made by other bodies, born into the world outside the body, lives a little while, and dies to be united in the dust with other bodies, dying like itself. In the brief time allotted it to live, it seeks for other bodies as its friends and enemies. Its safety is its main concern. Its comfort is its guiding rule. It tries to look for pleasure and avoid the things that would be hurtful. Above all, it tries to teach itself its pains and joys are different and can be told apart. The dreaming of the world takes many forms, because the body seeks in many ways to prove it is autonomous and real. It puts things on itself that it has bought with little metal discs or paper strips the world proclaims as valuable and real. It works to get them doing senseless things and tossing them away for senseless things it does not need and does not even want. It hires other bodies that they may protect it and collect more senseless things that it can call its own. It looks about for special bodies that can share its dream. Sometimes it dreams it is a conqueror of bodies weaker than itself. But in some phases of the dream, it is the slave of bodies that would hurt and torture it. So these first two paragraphs are setting the stage for what we may call the ridiculousness of the body illusion. And I do want to say, and I've mentioned this in a couple other episodes, there is a little bit of spiritual nuance in how we may perceive the body. The Course in previous episodes has referred to the body as a sacred temple. And so when I say the ridiculousness of the body illusion, I'm not suggesting that the body itself is, it's evil or bad or something to be transcended from. In fact, it's a very sacred and holy vessel for us to be able to experience this place. Yet, when we are solely identified with the body, when we forget to remember, it's a funny way of saying it, but it's kind of the perfect way to say it, unfortunately. When we forget to remember, or when we have not yet remembered, I should say, what we actually are, that is living through the body, and we are fully identified as the body itself, things become very ridiculous. It becomes, well, frankly, and I want to say, we become insane. We do things that are insane. The Course said we use little metal discs and pieces of paper to buy stuff, and we hire other people so that they can buy stuff, and it's just all meaningless. The Course also mentioned that the body uses its own comfort as its sort of guiding compass, as the thing that leads it into where it's going, as the reason why it does what it does. And I think this is also part of what creates awakening. We live according to the body's impulses, and eventually you get to a lifetime where you realize, hey, no matter how comfortable I am, I'm still not okay. And this can take a variety of different forms. For some, And I want to say, though I am uneducated in this topic, I think this is the story of the Buddha, if I'm not mistaken. He was rich and it didn't fulfill him. It wasn't enough. And that led him to pursue spirituality. For others, it may just be that we have crafted what we were told was the life we should desire, and yet haunted almost by the past, our traumas, our pain, we're brought to our knees, and as the Course suggests, we ask the question, there must be a better way. Still, the purpose of these first two paragraphs is a reminder, a much needed reminder, because though we are in the process of awakening and we are slowly remembering what it is that we actually are, the intensity of the body illusion tends to take over. Said another way, it tends to be really easy to forget what you actually are and think you're only the body. And when we think we're only the body, this place is terrifying, and it's nonsensical, and it's chaotic. Luckily, the Course has more for us. So let's move on. Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing I wanted to say. Sometimes it, the body, dreams it is a conqueror of bodies weaker than itself. This is sort of what I would consider to be the ultimate body illusion, taken to its natural conclusion. When we are solely identified with the body, eventually we find ourselves in a predicament where justifying acts of conquering, acts of violence against another that we deem to be the bad one, we find a way to justify it. This becomes increasingly more difficult when you remember what you actually are, and you remember the sort of mechanics of this dimension, that attacking another is always and unequivocally also attacking the self. This complicates what we might consider to be the traditional perspective of us versus them. But indeed, sometimes our body does dream that it is a conqueror of bodies weaker than itself. Let's move on. The body's serial adventures, from the time of birth to dying, are the theme of every dream the world has ever had. The hero of this dream will never change, nor will its purpose. Though the dream itself takes many forms and seems to show a great variety of places and events wherein its hero finds itself, the dream has but one purpose, taught in many ways. This single lesson does it try to teach again and still again and yet once more, that it is cause and not effect, and you are its effect and cannot be its cause. Thus, you are not the dreamer, but the dream. And so you wander idly in and out of places and events that it contrives. That this is all the body does is true, for it is but a figure in a dream. But who reacts to figures in a dream unless he sees them as if they were real? The instant that he sees them as they are, they have no more effects on him, because he understands he gave them their effects by causing them and making them seem real. Again, this is furthering the reflection and meditation on the body illusion. And awakening is, I said this before, it's slightly trippy, perhaps more than slightly. And I also think, especially when we're reading things like A Course, we get glimpses, right? Like you read this, especially this line, who reacts to figures in a dream unless he sees them as if they were real? And you go, oh yeah, all those times I was in a state of fear and I was perceiving attack and division and us versus them and seeing myself as the hero. I was doing that because I thought the dream was real. It's like one of those duh moments, and yet the illusion can be so gripping. This is another reason why, and I've mentioned this a couple times, I like that the Course is a gentle, loving teacher. It is reminding us of these things over and over again because we need to be reminded of them over and over again. And it knows that, as a wise teacher does. Let's move on. How willing are you to escape effects of all the dreams the world has ever had? Is it your wish to let no dream appear to be the cause of what it is that you do? Then let us merely look upon the dream's beginning. For the part you see is but the second part, whose cause lie in the first. No one asleep and dreaming in the world remembers his attack upon himself. I want to stop. This is not the end of the paragraph. But firstly, how willing are you to escape the effects of the dream the world has had? What a very willing, right? You read that, you go, oh, I'm very willing, sign me up. And then the Holy Spirit says, okay, here we go, gently nudges you along the course. And, it's a little challenging from time to time. There can even be some moments, to be real, where you feel like you've gotten in over your head. I've had those moments with my Holy Spirit a lot lately. This feeling of like, what am I getting myself into? And yet, this question, oh, I find it so motivating. There's something about this that it lights a fire under me. How willing are you to escape the effects of the dream? And this is why I've taken lately to saying that the only thing that's happening here is awakening. My cards are all on the table. My chips are all in. It's a poker reference, and I definitely don't play poker, so I think I got it. But I am all in on this. And interestingly, I think humanity is as well, whether we know it or not. But I also like that the Course says, no one asleep and dreaming in the world remembers his attack upon himself. Yeah. We don't remember when this started, obviously, because if we did, we'd be able to correct it. Moving along. No one believes there really was a time when he knew nothing of a body and could never have conceived this world as real. You would have seen at once that these ideas are one illusion too ridiculous for anything but to be laughed away. How serious they now appear to be. You know what this reminds me of? Again, stopping myself, but this reminds me of lucid dreaming. And honestly, I've noticed this before. It's like our human experiences are fractals, mirrors of the divine experience. And lucid dreaming reminds me a lot of the awakening process. Lucid dreaming, or even if you haven't lucid dreamed, just that moment when you wake up from a dream and you go, oh, thank God, it was just a dream. You have that moment and you're like, listen, when I was in the dream, the pigs flying were real. And because they were my pigs and they were getting away from me, it was pretty alarming. It was captivating. I felt like my pigs were escaping and I was in there. And then the moment you wake up, you're like, oh, it's ridiculous. And ridiculous. You don't even say, why was I so worried? It's just like an immediate realization that it was never real to begin with. You may have a moment, especially if it was a particularly traumatic dream where you go, oh my God, I'm so thankful that was a dream. Or let me hold myself for a second, have a warm cup of tea, because that was a lot. I've had those moments, especially scary dreams in the middle of the night. Not a fan of those. But then pretty quickly, even in the most extreme of cases, extreme dreams, pretty quickly, you move on as though it never happened, because it never did. And I think that's what the Course is speaking to in terms of the full awakening. How serious they now appear to be. And no one can remember when they would have met with laughter and with disbelief. We can remember this if we but look directly at their cause, and we will see the grounds for laughter, not a cause for fear. Let us return the dream he gave away unto the dreamer, who perceives the dream as separate from himself and done to him. Into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny, mad idea, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. Quick pause. So, this is giving language to, a verbalization to, what could be considered perhaps original sin. Yeah, I think that's a good religious crossover, but also metaphysically the creation event, right? How we became here, how source consciousness split off and became what we are. Into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny, mad idea, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting, did the thought become a serious idea, and possible of both accomplishment and real effects. Together, we can laugh them both away and understand that time cannot intrude upon eternity. It is a joke to think that time can come to circumvent eternity, which means there is no time. From my reading of this, my takeaway is that that tiny mad idea is that we are the body, that we are this physical incarnation. That tiny mad idea is that we are separate and that we can die. And again, the Course says, together we can laugh them away and understand that time cannot intrude upon eternity. This is the connection to the eternal self. Moving along, a timelessness in which is time made real, a part of God that can attack itself, a separate brother as an enemy, a mind within a body, all are forms of circularity whose ending starts at its beginning, ending at its cause. The world you see depicts exactly what you thought it did, except that now you think that what you did is being done to you. The guilt for what you thought is being placed outside yourself and on a guilty world that dreams your dreams and thinks your thoughts instead of you. It brings its vengeance, not your own. It keeps you narrowly confined within a body, which it punishes because of all the sinful things the body does within its dream. You have no power to make the body stop its evil deeds, because you did not make it and cannot control its actions, nor its purpose, nor its fate. The world but demonstrates an ancient truth. You will believe that others do to you exactly what you think you did to them. But once deluded into blaming them, you will not see the cause of what they do, because you want the guilt to rest on them. This is speaking of projection. And living inside of projections, the visual I always get anytime I think about this is it's like having mud in front of your eyes. And when you have mud in front of your eyes, obviously, quite difficult to see clearly. Living inside of a projection is very sticky and complicated to awaken from because it feels so tangibly real, especially in situations that are rife with pain and trauma. It's asking a lot, the Course is, for us to see beyond this. And this is also why the Course has mentioned many times we're not alone, that we have that connection to our God mind through the Holy Spirit. And so, as always, with any of these teachings, if there's any part of you that is struggling with this, praying to your own Holy Spirit or higher self, if you prefer that verbiage, will be of great use. It has been of great use to me along my path so far. I want to read that sentence one more time. The world but demonstrates an ancient truth. You will believe that others do to you exactly what you think you did to them. But once deluded into blaming them, you will not see the cause of what they do, because you want the guilt to rest on them. How childish is the petulant device to keep your innocence by pushing guilt outside of yourself, but never letting go. It is not easy to perceive the jest when all around you do your eyes behold its heavy consequences, but without their trifling cause. Without the cause do its effects seem serious and sad indeed, yet they but follow, and it is their cause that follows nothing and is but a jest. In gentle laughter does the Holy Spirit perceive the cause and looks not to effects. And I want to stop right here. This is where, so again, in gentle laughter does the Holy Spirit perceive the cause and not look to its effects. The Holy Spirit, your higher self, is very focused upon your thoughts, your perception, correcting your perception from fear to love. It is much less concerned with arguing about what is taking place in this physical dimension. What we see taking place in this physical dimension is the effect, not the cause. I think we mentioned this in a previous episode where we've been living backwards. Actually, this is quite quantum. There's a little bit of Schrodinger's cat in this that I kind of think I understand. There's the idea of, you got a cat in a box. It could be alive, it could be dead, but you don't know. Is it in a state of living or death prior to being perceived? I think I'm probably butchering that a little bit, but you get the idea. It's the idea that our perception is creating in ways that I don't think we fully appreciate yet. That sure, matter and density exist and are real, but to what extent? To what extent are they real? And certainly, to what extent are they concrete and fixed versus to what extent are they, again, the direct result of our perception of them? And so, when we engage with the higher self, the Holy Spirit, this is a mechanism that is interested in correcting the way that we perceive, correcting our perception to being aligned with God, being aligned with love, is the first step in awakening. In gentle laughter does the Holy Spirit perceive the cause and looks not to effect. How else could he correct your error who have overlooked the cause entirely? He bids you bring each terrible effect to him, that you may look together on its foolish cause and laugh with him a while. You judge effects, but he has judged their cause, and by his judgment are effects removed. Perhaps you come in tears, but hear him say, My brother, Holy Son of God, behold your idle dream in which this could occur, and you will leave the holy instant with your laughter and your brother's joined with his. This always takes me, this course is one of self-mastery, right? So we're pushing it. This is not easy stuff. Well, ultimately it is, but I think many stages of the journey it's not. And there are so many situations where we go, yeah, but not that one, right? You think of some of the most horrible things that happen in this dimension, and we say, yeah, none of it's real, but that one's real, and that person did it, and they're to blame, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. And the ego has a lot of yeah buts. It's part of the way that it helps to keep you anchored in this reality, right? In one sense, it keeps you in the physical body by protecting you in situations of true life and death scenarios. But a lot of the times that voice, that yeah, but voice, the voice that's very focused on effect rather than cause, it's really just keeping you in that dreamlike state. Again, going back to our pigs flying analogy, it would be akin to saying, yeah, sure, we're dreaming right now, but the pigs are getting away. And the Holy Spirit is much more concerned with you remembering that you're dreaming, much less concerned with the pigs getting away. And when you wake up, you will realize why. And that's why the Course says, and you will leave the holy instant, the moment of awakening, with your laughter and your brother's joined with his. The secret of salvation is but this, that you are doing this unto yourself. No matter what the form of the attack, this is still true. Whoever takes the role of enemy and of attacker, still is this the truth. Whatever seems to be the cause of any pain and suffering you feel, this is still true. for you would not react at all to figures in a dream you knew that you were dreaming. Let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may. They could have no effect on you unless you failed to recognize it is your dream. Again, you read it and you go, duh, and then you go to apply it in real life and all you see is mud in your eyes, right? This is also part of the reason why the Course in Miracles is such a large book, because really, this sentence, let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may. They could have no effect on you unless you failed to recognize it is your dream. That's it. That's awakening. Right? You integrate that, you're awakened. That's it. And yet the Course goes on. This is far from the last chapter. So I think the point of me saying that is just for us to have grace in the process. And my guides, I work with angelic guides a lot lately. They've been real big on be where you are. You know, we're using the Course again to strive for self-mastery, but also allow yourself to be where you are, be present in the moment, and enjoy the process as it unfolds. I need to read this one more time because when I ask my guides the question, what do I do in this time? And this sentence will, okay, this is an interesting point. All right, my guides are coming in a little bit here. Sometimes we read spiritual text and the ego mind comes in and goes, oh, so you're telling me not to do anything? Okay. Course in Miracles is dealing with our thoughts, our mind, the way we view a situation. It is not prescription of action. So, allow me to read this sentence one more time. Let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may be. They could have no effect on you unless you failed to recognize it is your dream. This is about changing our perception, the way we see the world. You know what it actually reminds me of? Is kind of the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And I did read that book. And by the way, I do recommend reading the full book. I think she does a good job talking about it in podcast, but I would listen to the whole book if that is something you are interested in. And the reason that I say that is because there is perhaps an immature application of the Let Them Theory. And this is the Course's version of the Let Them Theory, by the way. The immature application of that is, okay, so I'm just going to let people walk all over me, right? The immature application of that would be, well, I've been told I'm supposed to let them, and so I will forego any personal responsibility of having discernment, and I will just let anyone do anything to me. And so we definitely don't want to do that. But, and Mel goes into this in her book many times over, the appropriate and mature application of this. The Let Them Theory is the thoughts you think, right? The framing of the situation. You've recognized, because you are mature, that you cannot control the actions of another human being, and so you must let them. And then the second component in Mel's book is let me. And let me is what you do in response to let them. So let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may be, and then to borrow Mel's phrasing, and then let me no longer associate with them, or I don't know, let's take this political, and then let me no longer vote for them, you know, things like that. So there's two applications. We are, what's the phrase? In this world, but not of it. And so the let them be as hateful and as vicious as they may. They could have no effect on you unless you failed to recognize it is your dream. This is about the way that we view our world, not necessarily prescriptive action taking. And prescriptive action taking, or not prescriptive, but just action taking in general, again, it requires discernment. We learn a lot of lessons that build that discernment. Make no mistake. And to be clear, immature and mature weren't necessarily insults. We are all immature at varied stages of life. And maturity is gained through experience. Okay. Moving along. This single lesson learned will set you free from suffering, whatever form it takes. The Holy Spirit will repeat this one inclusive lesson of deliverance until it has been learned, regardless of the form of suffering that brings you pain. Whatever hurt you bring to Him, He will make an answer with this very simple truth. For this one answer takes away the cause of every form of sorrow and of pain. The form affects His answer not at all, for He would teach you but the single cause of all of them, no matter what their form. And you will understand that miracles reflect the simple statement, I have done this thing, and it is this I would undo. Bring, then, all forms of suffering to Him who knows that everyone is like the rest. He sees no differences where none exist, and He will teach you how each one is caused. None has a different cause from all the rest, and all of them are easily undone by but a single lesson truly learned. Salvation is a secret you have kept but from yourself. The universe proclaims it so. Yet to its witnesses you pay no heed at all, for they attest the thing you do not want to know. They seem to keep its secret from you. Yet you need but learn the choice, but not to listen, not to see. How differently will you perceive the world when this is recognized? When you forgive the world your guilt, you will be free of it. Its innocence does not demand your guilt, nor does your guiltiness rest on its sins. This is the obvious, a secret kept from no one but yourself. And it is this that has maintained your separation from the world and kept your brother separate from you. Now but you to learn that both of you are innocent or guilty. The one thing that is impossible is that you are unlike each other, that they both be true. This is the only secret yet to learn, and it will be no secret you are healed. This last section is the challenge of our times, and it is the true recognition, the true integration and embodiment of unity consciousness. I think sometimes, no, a lot of times, when we talk about unity consciousness, it can conjure up images of feeling like we're all one, but also everyone's all nice. And so if everyone's all nice and spiritually awakened and singing Kumbaya, well, yeah, of course, we're all one. And I think what the Course is trying to get us to understand here is that unity consciousness doesn't have any exceptions. It is the truth, the actual truth beyond the dream, that we are all the exact same thing. And, I've noticed this in other areas of my life as well, that the more challenging it is for me to see something a certain way, the better. Because if I can do it in a challenging time, well, then I know I can do it. Again, if I can see myself as one and the same as all living beings, when everyone I see is nice and pleasant and agrees with me and makes me feel good about myself, well, then I can't really do unity consciousness. I can't really integrate it and become it. And the beauty of times that we live in right now is that if you're able to master the self, if you're able to awaken right now, well, then there can be no doubt. It's almost like this universe provides us difficult lessons because we need those difficult lessons to awaken. Oh, another parallel, almost like a scary dream, right? Another parallel to human dreaming. What wakes you up faster than a scary dream? What wakes you up faster than a dream where you're like, listen, I don't want to be doing this? And the better the dream, the more likely you are to want to stay asleep. Again, I want to go back because while I think there was a lot in this chapter, a lot of self-mastery concepts, a lot of topics that require, actually, as it said, I was going to say patience, but actually, as it requires that you work with your own higher self. Take any of this to your own Holy Spirit. I've said this multiple times about the Course. The Course does not want you to believe it, and I certainly don't want you to believe me. I want you to use it. Use it. See where it takes you. And so, as the Course recommends time and time again, bring your cares and concerns to your higher self. I find direct prayer to the Holy Spirit to be extremely helpful and extremely beneficial. And I have yet to come up against an instant that eventually, although it may take some time, or the illusion of time, the Holy Spirit provides a direct answer to every single question I have ever asked it. Again, it may take time. And I have to stay open to the answer. There is a willingness. In fact, the Course has said this multiple times. The only thing that is required is your willingness to see it a different way. If you're unwilling to see it a different way, and many humans go through cycles of this, where, as the Course says, once you delude it into blaming them, you will not see the cause of what they do because you want the guilt to rest with them. If you want the guilt to rest with somebody else, the Holy Spirit can't attack. So there has to be, on our end, a willingness to see things differently. But so long as there is, I have yet to come up against a problem, a concern that the Holy Spirit has not been able to provide an answer for. Said another way, that the Holy Spirit has not been able to correct my fear thoughts into thoughts of love. This is a really radical concept. The fact that, as the Course says multiple times, we're doing this to ourselves, it's radical. It's controversial. It is perhaps upsetting to some. Yet, we have on full display for the entire world to see the logical conclusion of the insanity of separation. The logical conclusion of insanity to this idea that there is a hero in this dream, rather than remembering that we are dreaming. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave it here for this week. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. If you could like, comment, subscribe, share this with a friend that you think might benefit from it or may just be interested in the content, it does help me out a lot. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.